You're listening to the Agentic Engineer Podcast, weekly AI agent intelligence for builders. I'm your host, and with me as always is my co-host. Let's get into it.
Issue 10. GPT-5.5 just reclaimed the top of the leaderboard. Stanford found that 44% of agent code gets thrown away. And NVIDIA exposed the Agents.md injection attack hiding in every coding agent. Buckle up.
Quick rundown. GPT 5.5 dropped April 23rd, 82.7% on Terminal Bench 2.0. Fewer tokens per task than 5.4. It beats Opus 4.7 on most agentic benchmarks. OpenAI is back on top.
Stanford built the first large-scale dataset of real coding agent sessions. 6,000 sessions. 63,000 prompts. The headline number: 44% of agent-produced code never makes it into a commit. Just gets deleted.
And Tool of the Week. ToolSimulator in the Strands Evals SDK. Test your agents against realistic mock tools without hitting live APIs. Pip install Strands Evals and stop choosing between brittle mocks and production risk. The big one. OpenAI released GPT 5.5 last Wednesday. Let me run through the numbers. 82.7% on Terminal Bench 2.0. 78.7 on OS World Verified. 84.9 on GDeepVal. It beats Opus 4.7 on nearly every agentic benchmark we track.
Okay, but benchmark numbers are benchmark numbers. What actually changed for builders?
The efficiency story is what matters. GPT 5.5 uses fewer tokens to complete the same codex tasks as 5.4 while matching its per token latency. Cheaper and better at the same time. That's rare.
And the timing is perfect. There was a study this week showing agentic coding tasks consume 1,000 times more tokens than code chat. The same task can vary 30x between runs. So a model that burns fewer tokens per task isn't just saving money.
It's reducing variance. That's the underrated part. When your agent uses fewer tokens, the range of possible outcomes tightens. More predictable behavior. Less of the why did it do that debugging.
2 weeks ago, Opus 4.7 was the clear leader on coding benchmarks. Now GPT 5.5 reclaims that position while also being more token efficient. How fast did the competitive picture just shift?
Extremely fast. Anthropic's advantage now rests on the differential capability reduction, the cyber safeguards from Opus 4.7, and their managed agents platform. OpenAI's advantage is raw performance per token.
Here's what I keep coming back to though. Does it matter which model is on top this week if the leaderboard flips every 2 weeks?
That's exactly the right question. And the answer for builders is, make your agent harness model agnostic. If you're locked into one provider's SDK, you can't chase the frontier as it moves. LangChain, LangGraph, Strands, anything that abstracts the model layer. Swapping GPT 5.5 and should be a config change, not a rewrite.
I'll push back on that slightly. Model agnostic sounds great in theory. In practice, every model has quirks. Tool calling formats differ. System prompt behavior differs. You end up writing model-specific workarounds inside your supposedly model-agnostic harness.
Fair. But the alternative is vendor lock-in during the most volatile period in AI history. I'll take the workarounds.
And Google is lurking. Gemini 3.1 Pro just launched Deep Research Max. The next frontier model announcement is probably weeks away.
The model race looked settled 2 weeks ago. It wasn't. It never is. Quick hits. Starting with AWS.
Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. The new managed agent harness lets you declare an agent and run it in 3 API calls. Define your model, tools, and instructions. Agent Core handles compute, memory, identity, and security.
The Agent Core CLI covers the full lifecycle from one terminal. Pre-built skills give coding agents curated knowledge of Agent Core patterns. Hero ships with it today. Claude Code, Codex, and Cursor support drops next week.
3 API calls from idea to running agent. That's the pitch. Whether it holds up in production is a different conversation, but the developer experience bar just moved.
Google shipped Deep Research in 2 tiers. Deep Research for fast interactive use, and Deep Research Max for async, max quality workflows. Both built on Gemini 3.1 Pro.
The interesting part is native MCP support. First research agent that can connect proprietary data streams through the Model Context Protocol. Max uses extended test time compute for iterative reasoning, designed for background workflows like nightly due diligence reports.
If you're running research workflows that take hours, the async tier with extended compute is the play. This isn't a chatbot feature. It's infrastructure for autonomous research.
Context mode hit 10,536 stars this week, plus 2,504. An MCP server that sandboxes tool output so raw data never hits your context window.
A Playwright snapshot drops from 56 kilobytes to under 2 kilobytes. It tracks session state in SQLite with full-text search, so when the conversation compacts, the agent picks up where it left off.
Forces agents to write scripts instead of reading files into context. Supports Claude Code, Cursor, Copilot, and 11 more. The 98% context reduction claim is aggressive, but the architecture is sound.
Anthropic added persistent memory to Claude managed agents. Public beta. Agents can now retain context across sessions.
This was the key missing piece. We covered the managed agents launch in issue 8. Without persistent memory, every session started from scratch. Now agents can build on previous interactions. Long-running autonomous workflows just became viable on Anthropic's platform.
And the security story of the week. Pillar Security found a sandbox escape in Google's anti-gravity.
A native file search tool executes before secure mode can evaluate it. Combined with prompt injection, attackers got full remote code execution, under the exact configuration security-conscious users rely on.
It's been patched, but the pattern is the story. Native tools that bypass sandbox evaluation are a class of vulnerability, not a one-off bug. We'll come back to this in the hot take. Paper breakdown. SWE-chat from Stanford. The first large-scale dataset of real human-agent coding interactions. And the numbers are sobering.
How sobering?
6,000 sessions. 63,000 prompts. 355,000 tool calls. Only 44% of agent-produced code survives into commits. More than half gets deleted.
Wait, 44% survives? So 56% of everything the agent writes is throwaway code?
Correct. And usage is bimodal. 41% of sessions are pure vibe coding, where the agent writes everything. 23% are human-only with the agent as a search tool. And users push back on agent suggestions in 44% of all turns.
44% pushback rate. That's not a copilot. That's a junior developer who needs constant supervision.
It gets worse. Agent-produced code introduces more security vulnerabilities than human-written code. The study doesn't quantify the exact ratio, but the pattern is consistent across session types. Agents optimize for code that works over code that's safe.
So if you're measuring agent productivity by lines of code generated, you're measuring the wrong thing.
Exactly. The real metric is lines that survive review and ship. SWE-chat gives you the methodology to measure that in your own codebase.
This connects to something we've been saying since issue 4. The Amazon Senior Engineer Sign-Off Policy for Agent Code. Every week, the data makes that look more justified.
The 44% pushback rate means agents are wrong often enough that human review isn't optional. Teams that treat coding agents as autonomous contributors, assign a ticket, merge the PR, are shipping code that humans would have rejected nearly half the time.
I want to be careful here, though. The study captures current models and current workflows. These numbers will improve. The question is whether teams are building review processes now or waiting until after the bad code ships.
Build the process now. The data is clear.
Time saved, 5-minute read versus 42-minute paper. 8.4x compression. Tool of the week. ToolSimulator from the Strands Evals SDK.
Testing AI agents that call external tools has always meant choosing between two bad options. Live APIs risk PII exposure, unintended side effects, and unpredictable costs. Static mocks break the moment your agent runs a multi-turn workflow.
ToolSimulator is the middle ground.
It intercepts your agent's tool calls and routes them to an LLM-based response generator. The responses are realistic, context-aware, stateful across turns, and validated against pedantic schemas. No handwritten fixtures.
The stateful part is the key feature. If your agent calls lookup_order and then process_refund, the simulator remembers the order details from the first call and uses them to generate a consistent response for the second. Static mocks can't do this without manual wiring.
Schema validation catches a class of bugs that integration tests miss. Your agent might call the right tool with the wrong parameter types. A live API might silently coerce the input. ToolSimulator rejects it and surfaces the bug before production does.
And it works with any agent framework. The simulator sits at the tool layer, not the orchestration layer. Strands, LangChain, CrewAI, your custom harness. If your agent calls tools, ToolSimulator can intercept them.
Pip install Strands evals. Define a scenario. Run your agent. Check the tool sequence and schema validity. That's the workflow.
GA in the Strands evals SDK. For anyone who's been writing brittle mock fixtures for agent tests, this replaces that entire workflow.
Agent index update. The numbers.
OpenClaw at 365,061. Plus 4,189. Another new low for weekly gain. But at 365K, it's still nearly 2x N8N.
The big mover is OpenAI Agents SDK. Plus 1,777 stars. Another massive week. It blew past Versal AI SDK. 25,385 versus 23,818. Last issue they were 26 stars apart. Now the gap is 1,567.
That's not a spike. That's sustained adoption from the Sandbox and Long Horizon Harness launch. 2 consecutive weeks of plus 1,700 or more.
CrewAI crossed 50K stars for the first time. 50,048, extending its lead over Llama Index to 1,084.
LangGraph at plus 821 continues outpacing parent LangChain at plus 933 on percentage. 2.76% versus 0.7%. The child keeps growing faster than the parent.
Semantic kernel at plus 41 and Strands agents at plus 42. Both flat. Microsoft Agent Framework at plus 243 is the only Microsoft repo showing real momentum.
The story this week is the OpenAI Agents SDK breakaway. The three-way tie with Versal and Mostra is over. OpenAI pulled ahead decisively. Hot take. And this one ties together the anti-gravity sandbox escape and something much bigger.
NVIDIA's security team published a detailed analysis of Agents.md injection this week. The attack is simple. Put malicious instructions in an Agents.md or Claude.md file in a repo. When a coding agent clones the repo, it reads and follows those instructions automatically.
No exploit needed. The agent is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
That's what makes it terrifying. Claude code reads Claude.md. Cursor reads .cursorrules. Codex reads Agents.md. These files are trusted by default because they're supposed to contain project context.
So an attacker who gets a PR merged with a modified config file now controls every coding agent that touches that repo.
Every single one. And the anti-gravity sandbox escape this week proved the same pattern from a different angle. Native tools that execute before security checks can evaluate them.
We keep building agents that trust their environment, then acting surprised when the environment is hostile.
The fix is the same one we learned with CI/CD pipelines a decade ago. Treat every input as untrusted, including your own config files. Sandbox the config parser. Diff the instructions. Show the developer what the agent is about to follow before it follows it.
Until that's standard, every Git clone is a potential prompt injection. That's not hyperbole. That's the current state of the art.
And the supply chain implications are massive. Open source repos accept contributions from strangers. A subtle change to a project config file looks harmless in a code review, but it rewrites the instructions for every agent that touches the codebase.
This is the supply chain attack vector hiding in plain sight. And right now, nobody is scanning for it.
That's a wrap for issue 10 of the Agentic Engineer podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter at theagentecengineer.waltsoft.net and follow us on YouTube at the Agentic Engineer Pod. Share it with a friend who's building with agents. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep building.